Hello, everyone. This is another Black Conservative. I'm Ryan Bowling. Thank you all for joining me. What I want to talk about today is a pretty tragic situation that occurred with a 16-year-old teenager in Florida who was sentenced to life imprisonment for brutally stabbing a 13-year-old young girl 114 times in the woods. Now, I'm pretty sure most of us have heard of situations like this in years past where young people have done some of the most unspeakable acts of violence that one could think of. And we always got to ask ourselves the question of why. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to read just a small portion of this article from the Epoch Times, and I'm going to give you my opinion of why this kind of stuff occurs, okay? And some of you probably thinking, okay, I know what he's going to talk about because he's a minister. I'm going to mention that, but I'm going to also mention something else too that I think is very, very important as to answering the question as to why young teenagers commit these kind of acts. Now, so I'm going to read you a small portion of this article, and then I'm going to go into my detailed commentary. But the article starts off, a Florida judge sentenced 16-year-old Aden Fauci to life in prison on Friday for fatally stabbing his 13-year-old classmate Tristan Bailey in a case that was especially shocking due to its brutality and the young age of both the perpetrator and victim. Now, here's what's interesting about this article as well. As you read further into the article, we find out that this 16-year-old young boy whose life is over now was given a life sentence by the judge because in Florida law states basically that he was underage and they couldn't really give him, um, uh, they really wanted to give him a life. Let me take that back. They really wanted to give him a life sentence right off the bat, but they couldn't try him as an adult because he was underage. But after examining the court case, the judge basically said there's no other reason or there's no other sentence to give him other than a life sentence. And the reason why the judge came to that conclusion, as the article goes on to further say, is because the motives behind this young boy's act, his heinous act, was simply that he wanted to find out what it was to kill someone. The judge states that it wasn't for revenge, it wasn't for hate or anything. This young boy simply wanted to find out what it was to kill someone. Okay. The attorneys of the young boy wanted to cut it down to a 40-year sentence. But you can read the rest of the article in the Epoch Times on your own free time. I want to pinpoint something out here, and I want to focus on my commentary, what the point of my commentary will be about. Later in the article, the grandparents of the young boy stated to the judge to be merciful upon the young boy. Now, here's the reason why they stated this, before anyone get angry with the grandparents, okay? Because I can understand their response. I mean, this young boy did something that was horrible, and they're thinking in their mind something is really, really wrong here. They stated to the judge that to be merciful upon him and don't take him away so long. And the reason why they said this is because this young boy, according to the grandparents, had a stable home, a stable and ordered home. This is what they said. Now, think about that for a moment, okay? Now I'm going to get into my commentary. The grandparents said that he had a stable home, but yet this 16-year-old boy brutally stabbed a 13-year-old girl 114 times simply because he wanted to find out what it was to kill somebody, how it felt to kill someone. Now, on the spiritual level, you could say that's purely demonic. For those of us that are Christians and understand spirituality and demon possession and demon oppression and severe demon influence, we could attribute that act of murder to a spiritual aspect. And I personally believe that demonic spirits were a part of that. But on a natural level, okay, because you don't have to be a Christian or even be spiritual to have your kids' minds as parents to have these kids in order. On a natural level, one has to look at the parents. Now, when the grandparents said that this young boy had a stable home, that suggests that he had a two-family home, right? Now, the argument from conservatives, and me being one of them, it's always been that one of the things that leads to crimes in the lives of young kids, it leads to crimes, the kids leave, dropping out of school and joining gangs, and so particularly among blacks, is a lack of a strong father figure in the home. And I have held to that argument. A significant number of conservatives have held to that argument. And I still hold to that argument when it comes to certain segments of the black community. But I want to add something out. I want to add something, rather, to that whole persona. Okay. When I say that fatherless homes are part of the reason why we have some of these young people joining gangs and committing crimes and so forth, I'm saying that mostly on a general basis. That's generally the idea. But let me point something out here. You can have a two-family home. You can have both parents in the home and the child still end up doing something crazy like this young 16-year-old boy did here. So that leads to the question, once again, why? This is very important. This is what I feel, okay? If the parents are not truly involved in the life of that teenager, regardless of whether or not it's a two-family home or not, then that's not necessarily a stable home. Now, you may ask, what do I mean by that? Externally, they may have stability. Like the grandparents said, he had a stable home. Perhaps he had both parents, came from a good school, had disposable income. May have had all those external things that people look at from the outside and say, hey, he or she, that teenager has a stable home. But on the inside, that teenager is being eaten up. On the inside, that teenager is going through some crazy stuff. In private, that teenager is involved in things that the parents don't know about. And what's my point? My point is, you can have a two-family home or a stable home, but if both parents are not really involved in the life of that child, it could lead to destructive patterns of actions like this young boy did here. And what I mean by involved, I'm not just talking about taking them to the movies, watching TV with them, chit-chatting with them about sports. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about giving the child morals and values and teaching them things that they need to take with them when they go out in the world by themselves. They're going to need inner stability, inner fortitude, inner strength that will help them matriculate through the challenges of life. You can give your son and daughter all kinds of money, all kinds of good education, train them in the best schools, give them money, all of this kind of stuff, and that child still ends up acting crazy. Because if you don't teach them morals, if you don't teach them values, and if you don't ask them questions, if you don't get involved in their psychological and emotional life, then it could lead to problems. Just because you have two parents in a home doesn't always end up the best way. That's the general consensus. But sometimes you have those cases like this case where the child ends up still going astray in the worst way. See, what people got to understand is that the parents' position in the child's life is of utmost importance. It always comes back to the family. That homeless man, that homeless woman, that person walking the street out there that we see all the time is someone's daughter and someone's son. And one has to ask the question, gee, Nelly, what happened? Doesn't necessarily mean the parents were bad. This could have happened later on in their life. But every person that's walking the street is part of a family. Every person that goes to work and comes home and does whatever, that goes to school and whatever, that person is a part of a family. And it's of utmost importance that parents get involved in the lives of their children. True, we need to give them their space when they're teenagers. But what I'm finding out is that parents of today, particularly after the 1960s so-called counterculture revolution, are becoming more and more distant from their children. Even if there's a two-family home, parents are becoming more and more distant from their children's lives. They don't really talk and interact with their children. They don't teach their children. See, the Bible says we're to teach our children, not just be there physically, but we're to teach our children the morals and values that they need so that when they get old, they will not depart from them. And what a lot of parents are allowing to happen is they're allowing politicians, they're allowing the lyrics of songs, the dialogue of these movies, and these Marxist, leftist, loony teachers and professors poison their children's mind with a separative attitude. I could do another, I could go all day on this, but something happened in the 1960s, the so-called counterculture revolution. Study the research of a man by the name of Paul McGuire, and he states in just about every one of his books that the counterculture revolution was a planned event. It was planned by the Tavistock Institute from Great Britain, the Frankfurt School Marxists, the CIA, the Stanford Institute, and others. He states in his research that they joined forces to completely eradicate the family, patriotism, right and wrong, Christianity, and education. So they infiltrated, y'all know I talk about this all the time, they infiltrated these institutions in order to completely destroy them. And look at where our family is today. So what I believe is happening is that parents are allowing these individuals from these institutions to poison their mind to say, oh, give your child faith. Give them faith. Their children, let them make their own decisions. That's a lie from the pits of hell. It is the responsibility of parents to be involved in their children's life. Yes, you don't want to suffocate them. Come on, use common sense. But at the same time, we should be involved in our children's lives. We should teach them and instruct them and ask questions and dig deep. What are these teachers teaching my son? What are these teachers teaching my daughter? Because the school systems, particularly after the 1960s, took on a whole different persona. And a lot of the things that these teachers are teaching your children are designed to separate your children from you so that they can poison their minds and the state, i.e. the government, takes control of their child to prepare them for the new world socialist government that's coming. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's real. So parents, I feel, are to some extent, not all the time, are responsible for situations like this. Now, I'm not saying that the parents in this young boy's life were the cause of what he did. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all, because the parents could have poured things into him and helped him, try to help him and gave him guidance and so forth. And out of his own free will, he chose to get into stuff that they didn't know anything about. You parents, you don't know everything. Only God knows everything, okay? But generally speaking, it's more than just coming home and the father with the newspaper in his face. The show used to come out in the 1950s called Father Knows Best and Leave It to Beaver. Those were nice shows, great shows, okay? But they're TV. Idealistically, that's not how it is. Rather, idealistically, that's how people want it to be. But in reality, that's not how parents actually are. Where the father comes home with a newspaper in his face and he's reading, not getting involved, not talking to the wife. The wife's in the kitchen cooking food and everything. Father's sitting down after he got off from work and he's in his face buried in the newspaper. Kids upstairs doing whatever they're doing. Nobody's talking to anybody. Nobody's communicating. That's TV. Reality is parents and children need to communicate. Parents and teenagers particularly need to communicate. And parents have a somber responsibility to pour into their children the spiritual and mental and emotional values that they need to be able to matriculate through the challenges of life. I can give you all the money, all the education in the world, but the things that you really need is faith. You need faith, emotional stability, integrity, honesty, perseverance, a willingness not to give up. knowing what's right and wrong, those are things that you need to know. My prayers go out to the family members of this young boy, of this young girl that lost her life. My prayers go out to them that God will grant them the strength that they need to be able to persevere in this unspeakably evil act. But that's what I believe the situation is. The counterculture revolution was a lie. It was planned. And part of it was to destroy the family. And they, in part, have done just that. They separated the children from the parents and the parents from the children in order for the government to take control of that child. But that's a lie. I think parents have to stay involved in their children. So to end the video on this note, just because it's a two-family home where both parents are involved doesn't necessarily mean the child's going to end up successful. The parents have to be involved in that child's life. They have to ask questions. So that's what I wanted to bring out and mention. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all, and see you again.